The girl had always been different. While the other children played in the sun, she spent her days in the shadow of her humble, thatched roof cottage. From a young age, she was taught that her family had little to offer the world, that the value of hard work would be her only wealth. But what if the truth was far more complicated? Before we dive into the shocking story, let us know where you are watching from today. And if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. Brittany Blake lived what many would call an ordinary life. Raised in a quiet, picturesque town by her adoptive parents, Laura and John Blake, she worked at the local bookstore and spent weekends baking with her mom or going on spontaneous hikes with her best friend, Lily Monroe. There were no signs of the storm that was coming, not in the way her mother lovingly made her breakfast each morning, or in the way her father handed her car keys with that goofy wink of his. But underneath the calm, Brittany sometimes felt a strange tension. She didn't look like her parents. Her soft brown hair, olive skin, and hazel eyes contrasted Laura's red curls and John's sandy blonde hair. She'd asked about it once, maybe twice growing up, and each time Laura gave her a soft smile and said, "You were meant for us." It had always been enough, until it wasn't. That summer, Lily called her with excitement in her voice. "Britt, you need to get out of town. I found the most perfect little cabin by a lake. Just the two of us, phones off, feet up, say yes." Brittany paused. She had work to do, books to inventory. Her father needed help fixing the shed. But something about Lily's voice, her energy, tugged at Brittany. And if she was being honest, she did need a break. "All right," she said, "one weekend." They left the next morning, driving through winding back roads lined with whispering trees. The cabin was beautiful, hugged by forest and staring out a glassy lake that mirrored the sky. That night, they built a fire, roasted marshmallows, and laughed like kids. Brittany felt lighter than she had in months. The retreat was beautiful, nestled at the edge of a tranquil lake, surrounded by trees. It was an idyllic setting, perfect for a few days of peace and quiet. Brittany and Lily spent their days hiking, taking photos, and enjoying the serenity. Everything felt like a perfect escape from Brittany's otherwise predictable life. The next afternoon, as the sun began to set, the two friends walked along the edge of the lake, chatting and snapping pictures of the scenery. Brittany stood by a large tree, her face turned to the water, smiling for the camera. Lily snapped a few shots of her, and they continued their walk. The evening ended with laughter and stories around a campfire, but it wasn't until later that night, as they looked through photos, that something unsettling caught Brittany's eye. Brittany stood smiling beside a thick tree trunk, the lake in the background. But behind her, tacked to the bark of the tree, was a worn-out flyer, a missing person poster. "Zoom in," Brittany said, her voice suddenly hollow. Lily did. The girl on the poster had brown hair, hazel eyes, and a familiar birthmark under her jaw. "That looks like you," Lily said quietly. Brittany couldn't take her eyes off the image. It wasn't just a resemblance. It was her, or someone who could be her twin. That night, long after Lily had fallen asleep, Brittany sat by the firelight, typing the name she saw on the poster into her phone. Isabella Ashford, missing since 2004. Unable to shake the feeling that something was wrong, Brittany spent the night scouring the internet for answers. She couldn't stop thinking about the image, the girl in the photo, and the strange feeling of familiarity. Why did she look like her? After hours of searching, Brittany finally came across a missing person report. The headline read, "Young girl Isabella Ashford, missing for over 15 years." Her heart stopped when she saw the image attached to the report. The girl in the photo was Isabella Ashford, a girl who had gone missing when she was just 7 years old. As Brittany read through the article, her heart began to race. Isabella Ashford had been the daughter of a wealthy and powerful family. The Ashford family, known for their vast estate and business empire. But Isabella had vanished without a trace, and her family had been devastated by her disappearance. Despite widespread media coverage, she was never found. Brittany stared at the article, her mind racing. This couldn't be a coincidence. The missing girl was Isabella Ashford, and she looked exactly like Brittany. But it wasn't just a resemblance that was uncanny. Isabella's family was one of the wealthiest in the country. Her parents had been prominent figures in both business and society. And now, Brittany was realizing that her own life, her name, her family, was a lie. She wasn't Brittany Blake. She was Isabella Ashford. The next morning, Brittany told Lily she needed to go for a walk alone. With trembling fingers, she followed the GPS coordinates tied to the Ashford estate address listed in the old articles. What she found was haunting. The mansion loomed like a forgotten memory. Vines climbed its pillars. Its gates, once regal, were now rusted and slightly ajar. Brittany felt her feet move before her mind caught up. She walked slowly up the gravel path, heart thudding with each step. And just as she reached the front door, it opened. An elderly woman stepped out. Her eyes locked on Brittany, and the basket in her hands clattered to the ground. "Isabella," she whispered. Brittany froze. "You're alive," the woman said, her voice trembling. "You came back." "I think." "You have me confused with someone else," Brittany said, though her voice betrayed her doubt. "No." The woman stepped closer, tears streaming down her face. "I would know those eyes anywhere. I'm Agnes, your nanny. You were taken from us, but you're here. You're home." Agnes quickly ushered Brittany inside the crumbling estate before anyone could see them. Inside, the mansion was frozen in time. Dust-covered chandeliers, sheets over furniture, a grand staircase that once gleamed. Agnes led Brittany to a study and pulled out an old photo album. "You were only 7 when you disappeared," she said, flipping to a photo of a bright-eyed girl with hazel eyes. "You loved to paint in the garden. You called me Aggie." Brittany stared at the photo. Her mind reeled. "I don't remember any of this," she whispered. Agnes gave a sad smile. "Trauma does that, but the heart remembers what the mind forgets." Piece by piece, Agnes unraveled the truth. Brittany had been born Isabella Ashford. Her parents, James and Lily, were poised to expand the Ashford legacy into global enterprises. But greed breeds monsters. Gregory Montague, her uncle, had grown jealous and ambitious. He wanted the fortune for himself. One night, there was an attempt on James and Lily's lives. They fled, planning to reunite with Isabella, but Gregory struck first. He had Isabella taken to an orphanage under a fake identity. The Blakes had unknowingly adopted her soon after. Then came the fire at the estate, an arson Gregory orchestrated to cover his crimes. The media believed the Ashfords perished. Gregory assumed control of the estate and businesses. "But your parents survived," Agnes whispered, clutching Brittany's hands. "They've been hiding all these years, waiting to find you. I know where they are." Brittany felt dizzy. Why didn't they find me sooner? Gregory had eyes everywhere. Anyone who searched too loudly disappeared. Your parents have been waiting for a sign. Something safe. And now that you're back, it's time. But Gregory wasn't done yet. And if he discovered Isabella was alive, he'd finish what he started. Agnes arranged a secret meeting. Brittany, still grappling with her identity, traveled with her to a quiet coastal village. There, in a modest cottage overlooking the sea, she saw them, James and Lily Ashford. Time had weathered them, but their eyes, those were her eyes. Tears flowed freely. There were no words, only embraces, trembling hands, and whispers of "your home." They spent days catching up, filling in the blanks. Her mother showed her old letters never sent, drawings she made as a child, even the dress she wore the day she was taken. But the peace was short-lived. Gregory had caught wind of someone snooping around the estate. He hadn't confirmed Brittany's identity, but he was suspicious. "We must act now," James said, "before he silences you too." With the help of Agnes and loyal former staff, they built a case. Documents, bank records, witness testimonies. Gregory had embezzled millions, sold family assets, and blackmailed board members. Brittany, now fully embracing her identity as Isabella, stepped into the spotlight. She filed a legal claim against Gregory for fraud and murder. The media erupted. Lost heiress returns. Isabella Ashford alive. But Gregory was not going down without a fight. Gregory launched a brutal smear campaign. Claimed Brittany was a con artist. Bought off lawyers. Threatened journalists. But Isabella was prepared. The final confrontation between Isabella and Gregory came in the heart of the Ashford estate, the very place where her parents had once lived. There, amidst the grand halls and empty rooms, Isabella faced her uncle. "You should have never come back, Isabella," Gregory sneered, his cold eyes gleaming with malice. "You think you can take everything from me? I've worked too hard for this." But Isabella wasn't afraid. "You're a criminal, Gregory, and it's time for you to pay." She stood before the Ashford Corporation Board, composed of powerful, skeptical men, and laid out every piece of evidence. She played recordings of Gregory's threats, showed financial records of money siphoned into offshore accounts, and then she revealed her birthmark, the same one on Isabella's childhood photos. DNA sealed the deal. There was silence, and then applause. Gregory was arrested. He screamed in the courtroom as Isabella calmly watched him be taken away. With her parents found and Gregory exposed, Isabella Ashford, now Brittany Blake, took control of the Ashford family business. She reclaimed her family's wealth and began to rebuild the empire that Gregory had tried to destroy. She took in Laura and Blake, as they would forever remain family to her. The Ashford legacy was restored, and Isabella's fight for her true identity had come to an end. But she would remain vigilant, knowing that the battle for power was never truly over.